The critique of capitalism you're getting now is the product of Marxist theory. Not only Marxist theory. People who are not Marxist have been critical of capitalism. Lots of them. All Marxism is the most developed tradition of that. It's not the only part, but it's the most developed. Everywhere in the world there are Marxist journals and parties and movements and even some governments you might remember, like the one that's the country with the most people, China, which in the name of Marxism runs its society. So there's lots of criticism, but I'm going to draw on the Marxists. Here we go. And it's very condensed, but it's what you asked me to do. And it may help you remember. First, capitalism produces and reproduces inequality, big time. There's a number of ways to say this. My hope is most of you already know this. You can see it in your community or in your family or in the country, but if you can't, here's some help. Capitalism produced, I like to hit on him from time to time, so we'll start with Jeffrey Bezos, the head of Amazon. He currently possesses himself $160 billion. Okay, I'm an economist, so pardon me as I explain to you what that means. If you have that kind of money, what you do is you entrust it to other people to manage it, either because you don't know how or you don't want to spend your time doing it. The kind of persons you give it to are called a hedge fund, or it could be a trust fund of some other kind, or managing bank. And I'm sure he does that. I don't know the details, but all people like that do it. Okay, let's assume they get him 5%. Mostly they do better than that, but let's assume modestly. Okay, let's do the arithmetic. 5% of 160 billion gets him $8 billion a year. And I divided the 8 billion a year by 365, the days in a year. And it comes out to it comes out to a number that explains why he does not buy lottery tickets. He gets $22 million a day, every day, 7 days a week, all year round, whether he works or not. $22 million a day. Now I'm going to leave you with a simple question. The world, you, me, but the rest of the world has a choice. It could take $22 million a day and use it to overcome poverty, to help people cure illnesses we know how to cure, to provide education to the people of the world. Or we could allow it to accumulate so that the richest person on earth can become richer still. If I had time, I would stop now. I'd play the national anthem and ask you just to think about it. But I don't, so I won't. But there's more. A few years ago, an economist like me, French, named Thomas Piketty. I hope some of you know a little bit about his work. He works in Paris, although he works with a colleague at Berkeley, Manuel Saez. And by the way, the two of them, Saez and Piketty, have the best website on this planet for understanding wealth and inequality in the world. Every economist, left-wing, right-wing, and in the middle, uses it. Anyway, Piketty wrote a book called Capital in the 21st Century, and it's 600 pages showing you how, why, in every place where the capitalist system settled, starting in 18th century England, spreading to Europe and the rest of the world, it produced, as a tendency, ever worsening inequality. The only reason it wasn't a straight line is that periodically, here we go now, periodically people reacted against the level of inequality and rose up and stopped it and sometimes reversed it. And it lasted a while until it faded out and the underlying growth of capitalism reproduced the inequality. That's what happened in the 30s. We undid the inequality of the previous 50 years in America because of the things I told you, and it lasted for a while, up in the 50s, 60s, and then it faded out, and now we have the last 40 years, which you're living the results of, when that inequality's all come back again. Capitalism produces inequality, which is a bit embarrassing for the system if you think about it. Capitalism is usually credited with having been brought to us by the French and American revolutions at the end of the 18th century. The slogan of the French Revolution, liberté, égalité, fraternité. Liberty, equality, brotherhood. Capitalism, which overthrew feudalism in those revolutions, America cut away being a colony of the feudal George III. So we were told, we, the people of the world, get capitalism, replace feudalism, and you will get liberty, equality, and fraternity. But we didn't. The promise of capitalism to deliver equality was never delivered. We have been betrayed by capitalism. We got the capitalism. We have never gotten the equality.